Dear students, welcome everyone for online classes from Narayan PU College, Kolar. So as we all know, Narayan PU College has the enigma and the charm which it carries since many years, serving each and every aspect of education of the students who are studying in this institution. The utmost purpose of Narayan PU College is to provide quality education in every aspect. So I am Zishan Ali, lecturer in biology. I have completed my masters to go with my B.Ed, and also I have cleared assistant professor eligibility examination with few publications internationally. So in today's class, we are going to discuss about the chapter Animal Kingdom. So firstly, let me give you the introduction of this chapter. Dear friends, as we all know that universe is very unique, especially in the universe we have the planet Earth, which gives shelter for the living organisms to dwell, to survive, to reproduce. As we are here talking about the animal kingdom, let me tell you, my dear friends, that we have more than 1.5 million species which have been discovered till date of, I am talking of animals. So 1.5 million approximately, I can say it stands 15 lakhs. 1 million is 10 lakhs. So 1.5, obvious that it is 15 lakhs. So 15 lakhs species of animals have been approximately identified till date, my dear friends. So further moving ahead, let me tell you that each and every animal species differs from each other in one or the other way. It may have the similarities or it may have the dissimilarities. So to know, to study, to research the differences, the similarities which exist between the animals, we need to have few important aspects. Let me tell you few general aspects. The animals differ with respect to their size. They also differ with respect to their shape. To go with that, let me also tell you they differ with respect to their morphology. So dear friends, so what do you mean by, so you know size, you know shape, but what do you mean by morphology? Morphology here basically indicates the external features, the features which are easily observed through the naked eye. As soon as we see, we can say the plant is tall. As soon as we see a plant, we can say there is a flower, beautiful flower in a plant. That means we are able to see. That is, the characters which we are able to see are morphological. So animals differ with respect to their morphology also. Then dear friends, even with respect to their anatomy, that is opposite of morphology. So anatomy here represents the internal aspects of organisms, especially I am talking here about animals. So anatomy, when I say, dear friends, let me tell you that when we dissect the organism, or for example when we do a surgery, we can see the internal organs. We can see how the internal physiological functions are in fact going across in a body, in a system. So that's what, children. So here with respect to their anatomy also the organisms differ with respect to their habits. Here in other sense, habits can be represented as behavior. Their behavior to different environments. Then we also have different habitats where different animals survive. For example, dear friends, we have so many different organisms which survive in coldest climates. Few of the organisms survive in hottest deserts. Few of the animals survive in extreme environments. For example, even in thermo geysers. In fact, we can say that as hydrothermal vents, for example. So what do you mean by this? So they are hot springs rather. So where there will be almost boiling temperature of water. In ice cold regions we can find this. Even there the organisms survive, dear friends. So like this. So different habitats are there. So almost in every habitat the organism survives. Like this, dear friends, even with respect to their physiology. When I am saying physiology, let me tell you the internal functions of the organisms. For example, digestion, respiration, excretion. Like this, many other physiological functions also the animals differ from each other. So like this, few of the important aspects I have represented here to make you understand that the animals, how they differ from each other. Dear friends, further moving ahead in the introductory aspect of this chapter, let me also tell you the animal's size may start from few microns. When I say microns, so let me tell you, it is 10 to the power of minus 6. So very, very small, which cannot be seen through our naked eye. So the animals will start from few microns and they may also go up to 100 feet in their size, dear friends, in their size. So when I am saying this, okay, few microns, let me say for example, we have here amoeba, or let me tell you we have plasmodium. So and furthermore, dear friends, to go with that, we have the largest of organisms which may reach even 100 feet in their size. For example, we have blue whale. And also, to go with that, let me give you one more example. Elephant. So you can find here, the size matters. See, where we can compare these smallest of organisms which cannot be seen through our naked eye with these largest of organisms, gigantic organisms, very huge organisms. It's very difficult to compare them. That is why, the diversity comes into force. The different, in fact, aspects of, animals are taken into consideration, dear friends. Friends, let me also tell you further, when we talk about size, especially few of the organisms, they have irregular body shape. For example, as I said you can again consider amoeba, or sponges you can consider, which has irregular body shape. We cannot say that the body shape is spherical or rectangular or concave or as such. Dear friends, even with respect to their feeding habits, they differ. When I said, dear friends, the feeding habits, let me tell you that the animals can be, firstly let me tell you, for example, they can be carnivores, or they can be herbivores, or even they can be parasites, or as such. Dear friends, so carnivores, we know the animals which kill the prey and feed on to them. For example, dear friends, now the cheetah catches its prey, for example, deer, and feeds onto it, feeds onto its flesh. So it's a carnivorous animal. Secondly, we have herbivores. So let me tell you that the herbivores are the animals which feed generally onto the plants. They are dependent on other organisms to derive their food. To go with that, even parasites are also present. So what do we mean by parasite? Okay, dear friends, let us consider the human as a host. So here human can get infected with so many different types of organisms. That means diseases are caused to the human being with so many different types of microorganisms. That can be bacteria, that can be protozoa, that can be fungi. What I mean to say here is that the microorganisms will act as the parasites. So these parasites, they go and affect the functions of human by taking the nutrition there, by in fact taking the shelter. I mean to say the human acts as host and the microorganism acts as parasite. So that's what. So like this, depending on their feeding habitats, we have different types of animals. Even we can say saprophytes, dear friends. The animals which feed onto the dead and decomposing matter. Fine, dear friends. Moving ahead, not only these aspects, let me also tell you few more important aspects like reproduction. They differ in their mode of reproduction. Few organisms may have sexual reproduction, few may have asexual reproduction. So here sexual reproduction means to say for example, we have the male sex cell, we call that as the sperm. So it will fuse with the female sex cell called as the ovum. So when both of these fuse, we can say that as sexual reproduction, dear friends. In the similar manner, we also have asexual reproduction where there is no fusion between the male gamete, that is the sperm, and the female gamete, that is the ovum. No fusion at all. Without the fusion of male and female gametes, there occurs reproduction. That is what we term it to as asexual type of reproduction. Like this, dear friends, even with respect to their reproduction, the animals have differences, have diversity, have different types of variations among them. Friends, not only with respect to this, they may be different with respect to their cellular organization. We can say they may have tissue organization, they may have organ systems in them. So like that, furthermore, let me also tell you in the introductory part itself, their body can be divided in different ways. So that we are going to further discuss with respect to this chapter. That is when we discuss the basis of classification. In the further session, I am going to tell you how the basis of classification can be done. What are the important the aspects which we can consider to classify the organisms, we will discuss further. Dear friends, now let me tell you few important aspects. Say for example, the world is so diverse. We have so many different types of organisms. Especially I am here talking about animals. Very, very, very different kinds of animals exist in different environments of the earth. So now, to divide them, to classify them, it takes lot of strain. It becomes very difficult for us. In that sense, let me tell you, dear friends, to identify them, to name them, and to classify them or to group them, we have the branch of biology called the systematics or taxonomy, or you can also say here, as we are talking with respect to animal kingdom, zoo taxonomy. So that is how this branch helps us to deal with all these important differences and the similarities, and to name, classify, identify the organisms, especially animals here I am talking about. Dear friends, so this is the introductory part of the chapter, the fourth chapter of your first PUC, that is the animal kingdom. Dear friends, next let us discuss about basis of classification. So what do you mean by basis of classification first of all? Dear friends, to classify the organisms, we need to have certain important aspects. For example, we have organisms, which can be divided based on their body symmetry or based on their body cavity, or further we say that to as coelom, or furthermore considering their level of organization. Like this, the organisms can be grouped, they can be classified, and it becomes easy for us to in fact study organisms. Dear friends, on that note, we are going to study with respect to basis of classification the first one, that is levels of organization. So when I am saying levels of organization, they are basically of three types. Firstly, we have cellular level of organization. Secondly, we have tissue level of organization. To go with that, we have organ system level of organization. Dear friends, so these are the three important levels of organization. Let me tell you, with respect to your competitive examinations, you can include one more very important level of organization, that is protoplasmic level of organization, dear friends. So these are the four. The most important among them are the first three, that is cellular, tissue and organ system. Now let us discuss each one of them. So what do we mean by cellular level of organization? Here, dear friends, the organisms in fact does not organize to form the tissues and organs. The cells are very loosely arranged. They are not combining, they are not attaching with each other to form the tissues. So in fact, they can change their form as well as their function whenever required. That's why we say them as the organisms, the animals with cellular level of organization. So this can be seen with respect to the sponges, or which can also be said to as poriferans. They show cellular level of organization. Here in these sponges and poriferans, the cells do not organize to form the tissues and organs. Remember this, dear friends. Moving ahead, we have tissue level of organization. So here it's rather very simple. The cells here organize to form the tissues. Let me tell you one important point, my dear friends. Tissues will perform all the functions. Tissues will not further develop or form the organs or the organ systems. Rather, they just stop after forming the tissues. Tissues will carry out all the functions. Remember, my dear students. So here, the best example which can be given are coelenterate, coelom bearing organisms, cavity having organisms. We are going to discuss further. Anyway, so that is the example. Thirdly, we have, dear friends, here organ system level of organization. Now, the cells organize to form the tissues. Tissues will further organize to form the organs and organ systems. That is what is organ system level of organization. All the higher organisms in the animal kingdom. Say for example, the mammals, the reptiles, and so many other, in fact, classes and so many other important, we have super classes, and I mean to say there are so many divisions which we are going to study further. So anyway, dear friends, what I mean to say here is that very clearly the organs can be seen here. The organs functioning is important for the survival of organism. The organs will perform many metabolic activities. What do you mean by metabolic activities? It will carry out so many chemical reactions in the body. Say for example, let us consider our own body, dear friends. We have organ system. We have heart, which pumps the blood. We have kidneys, which is important for elimination of nitrogenous waste outside our body. Excretory organs are also represented as. We have lungs for respiration. So like this, we have a well-defined organ system. So best example, we ourselves. So these are few important aspects pertaining to cellular, tissue, organ system level of organizations which exist with respect to the animals. Dear friends, furthermore, let me tell you, when we talk about the organ system especially, we have to understand two important aspects with respect to your syllabus. Let me tell you, okay, I am talking firstly here with respect to the digestive system. So here let me tell you, the digestive system can be of two types. One is the complete digestive system. So it shows two types of digestion, rather we can say complete digestion and incomplete digestion. When I say complete digestion, let me tell you that the digestion starts from the mouth, ends with the anus. So two openings are there, two pores are there. For the entry of food, the mouth is present. For the passage of the waste, the anus is present. So if this system is present, my dear friends, let me tell you that we call as complete digestion. So which can be seen with respect to so many different types of organisms. The best examples I can again give you, human beings, the reptiles, the mammals of different kinds you can consider. They all have the complete digestion. Majority of the organisms have complete digestion, dear friends. But let me also tell you, we have the second type, that is incomplete digestion. So with respect to this, let me tell you that only a single opening is present where both feeding as well as excretion occurs. In different types of the flatworms, what you represent to as the platyhelminthes organisms, you can find incomplete digestion. So remember, for complete digestion is the one where the entry of food is from one opening and exit of the food is through another opening. Secondly, my dear friends, we have incomplete digestion, which means to say there is only single opening for both feeding and for excretion. So this is one important aspect when we are talking about the organ system level of organization, dear friends. Secondly, here we also need to understand one more important aspect, that is with respect to the circulatory system. So in the animals, there can be two types of circulatory system, dear friends. First, we have the open type of circulatory system. Then secondly, we have the closed type of circulatory system. First, let us understand what do we mean by the open type of circulatory system. Dear friends, let me tell you, the word itself suggests us, the word itself gives us a clear-cut meaning, open. That means to say, the blood, after it is pumped from the heart, the cells and tissues bath in it. There are no blood vessels, there are no arteries, veins and the capillaries for the passage of blood to occur. So that the cells as well as the tissues will bath in it. That type of system we call open type of circulatory system. Say for example, in cockroaches you can find, dear friends, there are types of arthropods. Okay, friends. We have the second here circulatory system in the animals, that is closed type of circulatory system. So what do you mean by this? As I said you, closed. The blood flows inside the arteries, the veins and the capillaries. This type of circulatory system we represent it to as the closed type. Let me say for example, see dear friends, we have here the heart, a rough structure. So what we can find here is, dear friends, see, this is the human heart, rough structure, our heart. So where you can find, see, these are veins. This is inferior vena cava, this is superior vena cava, the biggest veins which we can find. And these are pulmonary veins. Then we have pulmonary artery, like this, arteries, veins, and also much thinner, deeply placed inside the body. Capillaries also we have, inside which blood flows. So when the blood flows inside all these blood vessels, arteries, veins and capillaries, dear friends, we can say that to as the closed type of circulatory system. So these are the few important aspects we need to remember, dear friends, with respect to levels of organization. Furthermore, as I said you, with respect to your competitive examinations, we have one more type, protoplasmic level of organization. These are special type, dear friends. Why is it necessary for us to study this level of organization? Let me tell you that protoplasm is the part of the cell which is living. So we can define protoplasm as the living component of the cell. So in case of certain protozoans, we can find protoplasmic level of organization, where protoplasm, the living component of the cell, which is covered by the, in fact, plasma membrane, will perform all the activities. It itself acts like a cell, dear friends. So these are few important aspects pertaining to the levels of organization. Dear friends, with respect to basis of classification, next let us discuss about the body symmetry. Here, dear friends, let me tell you that when we talk about body symmetry, it is important for classifying the organisms, especially the animals. Let me tell you, it is of three types. The first type of body symmetry we have is asymmetry. Secondly, we have bilateral symmetry. To go with the third one, that is radial symmetry. Let me tell you, my dear friends, firstly we have the asymmetry. So here, the body of an organism cannot be divided into two equal halves at all. So what is symmetry? Basically, when we are talking about body symmetry, let me tell you first of all, before moving to that, how the body can be divided. Whether it can be divided into two equal halves in one plane, or whether it cannot be divided, or whether it can be divided in any plane into two equal halves. Depending on that, we have three types: asymmetry, bilateral symmetry, and the radial symmetry. Dear friends, as I said you, asymmetry here, we cannot divide the organism into two equal halves from the plane passing through the center. That is what we represent it to as asymmetry. Say for example, I have given very easy examples for you all to understand. Very easy examples which you come across in your day-to-day life. Okay, see, we have here snail. So here when you talk about this, when you pass a in fact plane to the center of its body, definitely it cannot be divided into two equal halves. It cannot be divided at all, dear friends. The same goes even for the sponges. We have, we all might be knowing the sponges, say they are attached to the substratum. They have in fact big pores in them. So sponges look as such, So here in the sponges also we can find that they cannot be divided into two equal halves from the plane passing through the center. If that is the case, we call that as asymmetry. Fine, dear friends. The example here which I have represented, you can take for example snail. So secondly, we have bilateral symmetry. So bi here represents 2. Bi represents 2. So bilateral symmetry here means to say that the organism can be divided into two equal halves from the, in fact, longitudinal axis passing through the center. This is the one we have. This is an example for bilateral symmetry. When you pass it through the center, the longitudinal axis, the organism, the animal can be divided into exactly two equal halves. So that is what we call it as bilateral symmetry. In simple sense, you can say if the organism is able to divide it, can be divided into two equal halves from the plane passing through the center or through the longitudinal axis, then we call that as bilateral symmetry, my dear friends. Not only with respect to bat, it can also be seen with respect to the human beings, and with respect to frog, with respect to tapeworm and many other animals. Finally, we have the radial symmetry. So it means to say that the body of an organism can be divided into two equal halves from any plane passing through the center. So exactly we have here, the starfish. So from any direction you can pass, definitely it gets divided almost equally into two equal halves. So that's what we call radial. Radial suggests that from any plane you can pass from the center of the body of that particular organism, definitely it gets divided into two equal halves. The best example we can bring is the starfish, which I have represented here for radial symmetry. Dear friends, not only this, you can give many other examples, like for example for radial symmetry you can also give Aurelia, Hydra and many other examples. So dear friends, so these are few important aspects pertaining to the body symmetry. Dear students, under the basis of classification, let us discuss about the body wall, or we can also say this to as the primary germ layers. So students, we all know that the body wall, first let me tell you what actually the body wall is. The external surface of the body. Body wall is nothing but the external surface. Inside the external surface, what do we have? The body cavity is present. So the outer body surface is nothing but the body wall, as simple as that. Or in other sense, we can also say as primary germ layers. So let me tell you, when during sexual reproduction, when sperm, that is the male sex cell or the gamete, when it fuses with the female sex cell or the female gamete, that is the ova and sperm, when they come together, they form zygote. Zygote will develop into embryo, and later embryo will develop into offspring. So let me tell you, my dear friends, in the embryonic stage, that is when zygote develops embryo, so in the embryo itself we can find the primary germ layers. That is, outer we have outer ectoderm. So then we have middle mesoderm to go with inner endoderm. So these are primary germ layers which are formed initially during the development of embryo itself, dear friends. So firstly let me tell you that these primary germ layers, these body wall layers, are important for the formation of different types of tissues in our body. For example, friends, let me tell you, we have connective tissue, the muscular tissue, nervous tissue, epidermal tissue. All these tissues are formed from the primary germ layers or the body wall layers. That is the ectoderm, mesoderm and the endoderm. So basically, with respect to that, we can study as diploblastic and triploblastic animals. So what do we mean by, first of all, the diploblastic animals? So here the body wall or the primary germ layers are generally two, that is the outer ectoderm and the inner endoderm. There is absence of the middle layer, mesoderm here. Mesoderm is absent with respect to diploblastic animals. So this is the basis for classification, dear friends. We can classify the organism based on this. Outer ectoderm and inner endoderm is present, but at the center, instead of the mesoderm, there is mesoglia. The gelatinous layer called mesoglia separates the endoderm with that of the ectoderm, but there is no mesoderm, dear friends. So this type of diploblastic nature can be seen with respect to the coelom bearing organisms. We call them to as the coelenterate. Next, moving further, we have triploblastic animals. So here di means 2 layers it is representing, tri means 3 layers. So it is a very proper representation of primary germ layers or the body walls. Say we have the outer ectoderm, the middle, in fact the middle mesoderm. Here we have the middle mesoderm, and inner we have the endoderm. So we have here. Alright friends. So when you consider that any organism, they should possess all these 3 primary germ layers or body walls. If they have all these layers, then we represent those organisms, those animals as triploblastic animals. The animals with all the 3 germ layers. So what examples you can bring about here? The best example we can give is platyhelminthes organisms. From platyhelminthes till the chordates, the aschelminthes, annelids, arthropods till the chordates, even echinoderms, molluscans, including all these organisms, most of them are triploblastic in nature. I mean to say, they have all the 3 germ layers, my dear friends. The outer ectoderm, middle mesoderm, inner endoderm. So these are the few important aspects pertaining to the body wall or primary germ layers, which is the one of the important aspect for the basis of classification of animals. Dear students, moving on to the next basis of classification, we have here the most important one, that is the coelom, dear friends. Coelom can also be referred to as the body cavity. Now let me tell you, friends, that the coelom, what do we mean by coelom? The body cavity, where exactly the coelom or the body cavity is present? Let me tell you, it is present between the body wall and the gut. Body wall and the gut. The body wall, I have already told you, the external body surface is body wall. So then we have the alimentary canal. So the wall of the alimentary canal or the gut wall and the wall of the body wall. So between that, these two, we have the cavity in organisms. This is what we call it as the coelom or the body cavity. And it is an important basis for classifying the organisms. Definitely, we have so many different types of animals which can be classified based on this important, basis of classification, dear friends. So firstly, let me tell you, so we can classify the coelom or body cavity in animals into three different categories. Firstly, we have the coelomate animals. This is the first one. Secondly, we have the pseudocoelomate animals, followed by the third, that is the acoelomate animals. So these are the three coeloms or the body cavities which we can find with respect to different animals. First, let us discuss about the coelomate animals. Okay, let me also tell you, my dear friends, the body surface generally comprises of the ectoderm and the mesoderm. Just lining the mesoderm, there will be body cavity. So remember that. Fine. Here you can find lining the mesoderm, you can find the very clear body cavity, dear friends. Very clearly you can find the body cavity between the body wall and the gut. True body cavity is present. So in most of the phylums, let me tell you, starting with we have the chordates, molluscans, echinoderms, all these higher, in fact, phylums will have the true body cavity. We call all those organisms as the coelomate organisms. So secondly, we have pseudocoelomate organisms. So what do we mean by this? See, the body wall and the gut, in between there is body cavity, but it is divided into pouches. As you can observe here, the mesoderm is not proper here. It is divided into pouches, so which are in fact distributed in the mesoderm, lining the mesoderm. Dear friends, if this is the case, we can say that as pseudocoelomates. They have false body cavity. The body cavity is not true. The body cavity is divided into many pouches. If that is the case, as I said we call that as what, dear students? Pseudocoelomates. Pseudo represents here false body cavity. See here, we can find a true body cavity. There is no division like this, like pouches. But here we can find, because of that reason, we have just represented it as pseudocoelomates or the false coelomate or animals. So this can be seen with respect to Aschelminthes. Phylum Aschelminthes will comprise this type of the body cavity or the coelom. Dear friends, let us also move to one more type of the coelom or the body cavity, that is acoelomate animals. Here there is no body cavity at all. No coelom is present between the body wall and the gut. No cavity, as you can observe here. We have ectoderm, endoderm, in between we have the mesoderm. See, there is very clear, the mesoderm, lining the mesoderm, we don't have the cavity at all. All the cells are filled here. If this is the case, we call this type of organisms as acoelomate. Here A represents here absence of coelom. Acoelomate animals. Here, dear friends, with respect to acoelomate organisms, we can give example as Platyhelminthes organisms. Platyhelminthes here are the flat worms. Say for example, we have the tapeworm. Just the best example we can bring about the blood fluke we have. So anyway, so all these platyhelminthes organisms will not have any body cavity or the coelom in them. So coming to the last part of the session, that is on the basis of classification, we can also go ahead with two more important aspects, that is we have the segmentation and notochord. So dear friends, so let me tell you, even on the basis of segmentation, which can be present in few of the organisms, we can classify them into different groups. What do we mean by actually segmentation? Let us understand. See, for example, in the case of earthworm, we can find the body externally, it is divided into many segments. Around 100 segments can be present with respect to the earthworm. In fact, the segments here can also be represented as metameres. And the process of formation of metameres or segment here is termed as metamerism. So the metamerism means to say the segments will be present. The segments in fact can be present internally or externally in few of the organisms, my dear friends. So this is also one of the important basis for classification. And further, we can also classify the organisms also based on the presence or absence of notochord. So what is notochord? A notochord is a solid, rod-like supporting structure. Solid and rod-like supporting structure. So what do we mean by that? There are in fact organisms which possess on their dorsal side, back, behind, we can find a solid supporting structure called notochord. If notochord is present, we call those types of organisms as chordates. We will discuss much in detail about chordates in the coming sessions, dear friends. So what are chordates? The animals which possess the back solid supporting structure called notochord are chordates. One point. Secondly, we have non-chordates. So here, non-chordates represents the animals which lack or which do not possess, do not have the notochord. They do not have the notochord, the solid rod-like supporting structure. So what are the non-chordates? Say for example, we have the pore-bearing organisms, Porifera, the coelom-bearing organisms, that is coelenterate. Then we have the flat organisms, that is Platyhelminthes. Then we have annelids, worms. We have arthropods. All these, even molluscans, echinoderms, all these, my dear friends, are non-chordates. They do not possess the solid supporting structure, that is the notochord. Chordates are the only animals which possess the back supporting structure called notochord. So see, here itself we can understand, we are able to classify the organisms, right? Yeah. So these are the few important basis of classification which we have learnt till now. So I request each and every student to go through the class with sincerity, take down the important points in a notebook, and furthermore, in the concluding part of today's class, I request everyone to go through the class where I have put up the examples also in the form of pictures. to make you understand. Examples I may have given through pictures so that you will understand much easily. For example, dear friends, from the beginning we have discussed so many important bases of classification. So for example, body symmetry, we have radial asymmetry and bilateral symmetry. For each one of these, I will give examples in the form of pictures. So it becomes easy for you to understand. So please go through that. And also, few assignment questions will be given at the end of the video, which you need to do it as your homework or rather as assignment. So I request everyone to keep updated yourself for the upcoming classes. Thank you for your patient hearing. Thank you very much.